Ready? All right, cool. Um, Welcome everybody. This is going to be another monthly Q&A with TCOM, where you'll be able to ask some questions, and we'll be able to hopefully answer most of them, get you some answers to the questions that have been on your mind for ages. I'm gonna just quickly give a rundown of what we've done, what has happened in the past month. I encourage if there's any questions on those topics that you ask them. Since last meeting we had last Q&A, we discussed and we mentioned that the tournaments that were previously denied a badge for DMCA, but were relatively close to the rule changes, would go back under review. They would have their badges reinstated. Quick update on that: we have now awarded badges to 4 out of the 6 tournaments. One of them is close to being awarded badges, and another one is still being worked on. So that has been going smoothly. We also have a new wiki page thing brought to you by Cytosine, who worked very hard on that, where a lot of the seeding methods are now documented that are commonly used in tournaments. Things like Z-sum, Z-percentile, golf, all of that. If you have any questions regarding that page, feel free to ask. And now we do also have the website, which went live about, I think, 2 weeks ago now. Actually, exactly 2 weeks ago, where you'll be able to send in tickets. You'll be doing all of your reports, your tournament reports there now. Votes will be, to an extent, will be made visible and public. So all that is up there as well. If you have any questions regarding the website or future plans or any of that, please do feel free to ask as well. I will quickly reiterate that we do have a couple of rules for this meeting, for this Q&A. If you're asking any questions regarding tournament banned users or specific reports, we're not going to be able to answer those questions. We'll also explain why we're not able to answer those questions if you do ask them. That way, you're not going to be left in the dark, but yeah, we will have to refrain from giving specifics there. That's just not something we're going to be able to do. That said, I think that covers all of the things that have happened in the past month. Not sure if I'm forgetting anything. Oh, of course, there's apparently 6 new members. I almost forgot about them. Yeah, there's 6 new members. We have NokeJK, we have Henry, Riot, Nick, Yongin, and Polytetrol. Some of them are in this VC right now. If you have any questions for our new members, um, what it's like to be part of tournament committee, or if they're liking it so far, please do feel free to ask them. Mention their name if you want from a specific member an answer, and they would love to just give you their feedback, their opinions.
Hello.
We're very happy with the new members, right? Nope, you've been how have things been?
Yeah, the thing, hello, my name is okay. I think we have to go through our like very first introduction to audience. I guess I'll start from me. Is
Go
that
ahead.
good?
Yeah,
All
go ahead,
right.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hey. Yeah, my name is NopKJK and I am the newly hired tournament committee from like 2 weeks ago. A little bit more, but yeah, I as I was hosting tournament mostly in Asian community, it was real. I really wanted to reach my help to further communities, and I hope that my tournament committee works is working well with my goal. So yeah, nice to meet you. Now it's not paid. Do we consider that? Yeah. Yeah. We are not getting paid, but You
It
know.
depends. If you meet up with Poon, then maybe you're gonna eat KFC, but that's the only
Oh,
payment you're
right.
gonna get. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty far from me and the Poon, so very low chance, but we might, you know, we still have Cable's also event in August, so maybe there's a chance. All right,
Yeah,
next one.
yeah, paid by chicken. uh, that would be funny because I want to eat KFC. And anyway, guys, I'm Yongin. I might be a bit more less familiar to a lot of people in the standard community because I basically don't work in standard at all. The only standard tournament I have ever stopped is actually a local tournament. I'm more focused on Taiko and Cat scene, which I have been commentating for 5 years, and I've hosted some tournaments and stuff for tournaments in January as well. I basically joined because there was no Taiko member that I think could have been in charge. Uh because basically Taiko community only have few members left and they're slowly leaving away. So I'm mostly here to just fill in the tournament the tournament knowledge of like Taiko tournaments and hopefully can give some like new views and such. And also, I am mainly starting for beginners tournament, which actually signed did play one of them. He mentioned on the chat, so good to see you here. He did play and he got quite far, so I hope I hope he have some fun in that. But yeah, I am now following Raf step, Rafi or Rafalch, basically my I would say the one who like teach me about like tournaments, like Tiger tournament committee stuff for now. But we have been starting in various different tournaments. He mostly start for a lot higher rank tournaments, like Tiger World Cups, EGTS, which I am mostly starting for rank restricted, and sometimes even local tournaments, and not even just like Chinese speaking. I have a staff in Russia tournaments. I have staff in Australian tournaments, and I have also staff in Indonesia tournaments. So basically, I have staff in also some United States tournaments. So I'm a bit more widespread in the lower rank community. But yeah, I'm mostly here to just hopefully fulfill my knowledge for both cash and taiko knowledge.
Yeah, sounds good. Like, yeah, there is few people who like has multi-national tournament experience, but from the west to the east, Yongin has the very vast coverage of the tournament scene. So, yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Just taiko and casual. I know nothing about mania, so
Mhm.
I need some mania folks to help me if there's some like
Speaking,
knowledge. Yeah.
yeah, speaking of Mania, we have another member from the Mania community. Wanna introduce yourself, Polychromatic?
Uh, Test.
Hi,
Can you
Polly.
hear me?
Hello.
Yeah. Hi guys. So yeah, I can briefly introduce myself. My username here is polychromatic. I can't change it, but my actual username is polyhetero. So I've been in the Mania community I started off as a player, like about 6 to 7 years ago, and I've mostly been playing in some regional tournaments as well as some earlier renditions of Mania World Cup 4K. And since then, I think I've been quite intrigued in just participating as a staff member in the community tournament scene. So I've gone on to start off as a playtester and a referee in a couple of regional tournaments, like Chinese Mania tournament from 2018, and then just going up towards 4-digit Mania World Cup. I believe Albion is part of the consultants for that tournament, and I think it became pretty big, and I was probably like part of the key members behind the tournament itself. I've gone on to then host my own other tournament, the Osmania Long Note Tournament 3, which actually I just took over, but I guess I kind of basically assume admin position in that now. Since then, I found more interest in designing, so I've gone on into the production scene. So I've been designing for a couple of tournaments outside of Mania. So aside from Mania tournaments, I've been in the taiko scene. Recently, I've been designing for EGTS as well. I also helped out with Circles in Seoul, which is the Korean tournament, LAN tournament being hosted by Note KJK. And yeah, I've gotten to meet a lot of interesting and new people. So I think I just want to kind of give back my production experience to the community. So that's kind of part of why I wanted to join TCOM. So I'm hoping to get to know more about the community itself and probably offer some help in that regard. Yeah.
Nice to nice to hear that. Yeah, like the production side, like designing and music composing and any other stuffs behind the tournament has really like reached a very high level like recently, like from 2019. And yeah, Polly as well as other very great designers and composer has been doing a very great job under the hood. And we are hoping to see more talent to join our community, and I think Polly will do the great job there.
Thank you. I hope I can keep up the expectations.
Okay, so we have Nick and Anli for left. Who wants to go first, if you mind?
Good morning. Hello.
Hey.
Okay. Brief introduction. Hello, I'm Henry. Some people might know me as a player, particularly because I've played tournaments such as Core Series Open and Perennial, and actually won them too. But I've also delved into the staffing side rather than just the playing side. I've pulled for my own tournaments. I've hosted my tournaments actually, Henry Sheddington Showdown Annihilation, as well as Philippines Kaibigan Cup. And I was the head puller for both of those, which was I think that experience in general is really eye-opening into like just my journey as joining the TCOM. Aside from that, what have I done? I mean, I'm just a host, a player. I also map, but that's not really related to tournaments. Hello.
Hey, so yeah, Henry, while being very established tournament player, he recently started the hosting his own tournament and also like playtesting for various tournaments. Like playtesting when it comes to the map pooling, like comes in very key position to very like what do I say this? Polishing and polishing map pool qualities and like balancing skill sets and difficulty, and yeah, Henry has been doing very nice job in the tournament community recently.
Thank you.
And yeah, we are really thankful to see him on the tournament committee too. And yeah, we have our last new member in this voice chat. Can you introduce yourself, Nick?
I am Nick. I've been around tournaments and the scene for like quite a while now, in both staffing and playing, and recently delving more into mapping as well. You've probably seen me delve a little bit into everything except the technical stuff. That's the one thing I don't do. I've been refereeing World Cups, hosting community World Cups, map pooling, mapping, just doing a bit of everything. Not really involved with mega community stuff. Just more working on myself. and now in TCOM, getting myself a bit more out there. And that's about it. Keeping it nice and simple.
Yep, nice and simple. So yeah, Nick has been mainly like hosting the 3-digit and 4-digit World Cup for like I don't know 4 years. You've been doing really long time stepping and hosting.
4-digit World Cup, not as much, but 3-digit World Cup, I've been like one of the main hosts since 2020 or 2019. And yeah,
Oh yeah,
I did host a couple 1v1s a while back, but I haven't had the time for those recently. Maybe they'll come back soon.
yeah. Nick's Winter Cup. When are we going to have next iteration of Nick's Winter Cup?
Whenever I have time, which is slowly going away now that I'm in TCOM as well.
Yeah, yeah, like joining tournament committee also means that we will have slightly less time to host our own tournament, but still, still like we now have 16 rather than 10 people in the tournament committee, so we can share some workload on us, and that will certainly make us have more time towards the our own tournaments and community. So yeah, here is Henry, Nick, Young, and Empoli for new members, including me, Nov KJK. And I think that seals up the intro. So you wanna um okay, so let's get to the next step of this meeting. I'll be on.
Yeah, we had a question already. Now that we have the intros done, we snap asked the question. What would be your ideal amount of gimmicks that you would support for new tournaments? Um, to be honest, and I think at least I myself feel this way, and I'm sure a lot of other members in tournament committee also feel this way. We love seeing new, creative, and interesting ideas. To us, though, the most important part of a gimmicky tournament is that things remain, fair and that competitive integrity is maintained. We can see this, if there's a random map tournament, and it's still a random map tournament, that's fine. But once you start skewing it in a certain direction due to those gimmicks, that's when things become a bit iffy. So I would say, there's no maximum amount of ideal amount of gimmicks that you can do in a tournament. You just have to make sure that whatever gimmick you implement is done in a way that gives every single player and participant in your tournament an equal and fair chance at winning the tournament or doing well.
Mhm. Yeah,
Not
there
sure if
has.
anybody else has feelings.
I did want to
You
bring
go
up
first.
something actually. In terms of formats, the tournament committee does highly encourage like trying out new stuff and formats. So as long as it's not too chaotic, I think it should be fine in general. Just from a general perspective, that's what I think.
Yeah, as Albion said, I also think that the important part is every player is agreeing that this format is remaining fair for all players and also keeping competitive integrity, which is the very important value that we values. So yeah, it's rather than amount of gimmicks, but the how things are kept how things are kept in fair way. Yeah. Also for gimmick maps, like rather than format gimmick maps, I mean the same will apply if it's too like leaning towards any side, then it would be a little problematic. But if everyone can like enjoys
basi-
and yeah.
It's basically about like not much. Basically like I think it depends on two things. One, it's not too tiny. Like if it's like a 1 day shot, like a 1 day tournament, I don't think the tournament committee would have like accept it mostly because of how less play time it is. we do encourage bigger events than just like a 1 day tournament. Like even the LAN tournament is usually like 2 days or so. And not only that, second thing is basically how RNG is it. I think Suigi is probably like the most RNG. Like I'm not too sure how what is the scale of RNG, but if the concept is not like very randomized favor, then we mostly should be available. Like if you like randomize a tool, I think that it's technically fine. However, if you have any questions, again, I think asking the tournament committee website with tickets, I think that's the best RNG best scenario. Like ask your scenario, ask your how your tournament formula is. That will be the best way for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've pretty much answered that question. Cytosine came in with 3 big questions. I think the new TCOM website is really great and addresses a lot of the transparency points people brought up a few weeks ago. Wondering about letting other people also chime in with their own replies to tickets, even if they didn't make the original thread, or would that get too chaotic? So the thing is with the TCOM website, right? It's very new. It's a bit different from how people are used to interacting with us. So I think for the time being, we will just have to observe how things go. That's often the case when you're doing something new. We'll just have to observe how this goes. And if it does indeed become a bit of a problem that other people aren't able to respond in tickets, or that there becomes a bigger need for that, we can definitely look into making that maybe a thing. But as it stands, I think we'll just see how things go for now before doing that. For the exact reason that you mentioned, that it could get very chaotic with a lot of different people chiming in and giving opinions. The ticket system is not really meant to be a discussion thread, after all. It's more meant to be, hey, here's a question, hey, here's an answer, follow-up question, follow-up answer.
Yeah, while we are like trying to keep the tickets very like question from ticket submitter and like the collective answers from the tournament committee. And yeah, like basically we are having 16 people's opinion in our one message in our ticket response. So having another like people like getting in the like publicly getting in like just come in and send a message could be a little chaotic, but maybe we can solve this chaos by like letting the ticket submitters to invite the people who can give message in this thread, so making it half private. And yeah, that might be one way to solve that.
I mean, don't forget as well that we do still have this server, right? The dev server. We have the hashtag tournaments channel. We're able to make threads there. If there's anything that requires bigger discussion, we can always go there and have discussion with the community if that's needed for specific topics. We still have that possibility as well. It doesn't need to be through the ticket system. While the ticket system is very useful, a thread in hashtag tournaments is going to be better suited for that. Yaz, would you like to tackle the next question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will. Hi, sorry for my awful voice. I've been ill for about a week and a half. Um, so when it
Get well
comes
soon.
to the when it comes to having the TCOM section in the tournament hub, I have actually been speaking to the other moderators and the admins. We are looking to cook up something possibly next week with having like a somewhat dedicated place for where people can kind of chat casually with TCOM members. I know not everyone is in the T Hub server. So not everyone will be extremely active there, but we are looking to have something in there if people were still wanting TCOM updates in a different server other than the OSU official servers for that thing. I don't know about how everyone feels about having something like that in T-Hub, but I have been speaking with a lot of the moderators, a couple of the moderators in there, and we are looking to get something sorted next week. Apologies for not getting it done sooner. I have been absolutely extremely busy since the last meeting with going to a LAN and contracting what I call LAN flu. But rest assured, we are looking to get that sorted very, very soon. Hopefully within the next week or so. So I hope that answers your question, Cytosine. Again, apologies for my awful voice.
Yeah, I get that land flu. Like I was, as Polly mentioned, like about a month and a half ago, there was a CSL Korean LAN tournament, and I had to like wake up for 30 hours straight, and and I went back to hotel and like slept like crazy amount of time. And yeah, as I say, the more plays we have, the more like time that the tournament committee can communicate with communities. So yeah, T Hub and the what do we call it? The tournament channel. I think those two can be work as very great starting point. Okay, I think we are going to next next question.
More on the operational question. A few days ago, there was a situation with an unfortunate match default time. One of the team was trying to schedule hold the other one as a result. And you're curious if there's guidelines about how to resolve those kinds of conflicts, how to make defaults, what you can do if you realize you made a mistake, how or should be made should be made more formal. So the thing about a lot of scheduling issues is that scheduling issues are inherently a thing that is case by case, because every single scheduling issue you'll encounter probably is going to be slightly different from something you've already encountered. I do agree, though, that is one of the more problematic parts of hosting tournaments currently, where you're going to be confronted with a scheduling situation, and you want to remain fair to both teams. One team being very limited on one day, and the other team being very limited on the other day. So you want to be finding a middle ground, and that's often a very difficult thing to do. With the new members that we now have on board, I do think we probably can look into doing some form of guide or anything that might help in that regard. Though if there's people in the community that want to give their input on that, I also encourage you to speak up if you have ideas on how that could be best done. After all, we don't have to do this by ourselves. So if you do have a good idea, do let us know, and we can see if we can make something happen. It's
Yeah.
definitely one of the more tricky ones because of the nature of scheduling and it being case by case. But if there is a way we can make that easier, I do think it's worth exploring.
Yeah, like a very ideal solution would be to have one central scheduling, I would say website or software to manage all of them, but like that requires a lot of manpower to operate them. So yeah, like the scheduling hell, we say, really like comes very chaotic when we are doing global tournaments with no restriction of teams nationality and time zone, and somehow you will get the matches with like one players at the every time zone possible, and that's where the difficult comes. I haven't been like really into the international tournaments, so I would like to hear from more international guys over here.
I'll chime in real
Right.
quick for this. I host a lot of international team tournaments. Also, very very low speaking voice. It's 6 a.m. Um, I think a big thing for especially newer hosts dealing with these kinds of issues is there's not a lot of easily preventable ways to deal with this. So the biggest thing you can do is make sure that your initial schedules are solid pretty much every time. And the easiest way to do that, I think, is to either take team availability or take time zones for each individual member of a team before a tournament starts off, so that you can at least try to give a time that works for everyone relatively well. So, for example, when you're hosting 4v4 team size 8 international with no restrictions on exactly who can be on which teams, no regional restrictions, none of that. I'll often either use profile flags or I'll ask for time zones from each player in particular. And just knowing the time zones for countries or Googling it is usually enough to give you an idea of kind of what the default should be. Good rule of thumb is if you have people from only North America and Europe, like 18, 19 UTC-ish. If you have people from Asia and Europe, like 12 to 14 UTC-ish. Usually 12 is a little bit more fair for the people from Asia, so that it's not, midnight for them, especially in the case of people from Australia who are UTC plus 11. And then if you have people from all three major tournament continents, then just 15 UTC. Like there's not going to be any people from Asia or North America particularly happy with 15 UTC, but that's just kind of how it is. So yeah, I would say try to learn how to schedule those kinds of matches because they can be tricky. And then another thing is if you really want to avoid those situations with scheduling hell for some teams versus others, putting regional restrictions in place in your tournament, whether that's team formation restrictions or hosting for like a couple of continents rather than full international, can help with that, although that changes the dynamic of your tournament in a big way. So that's a large decision to make before the tournament starts.
I want to chime in as well with an example of what me and Shadus are doing in 3-digit World Cup. We have obviously with the team submission, like a little availability check, like if there's any specific times we shouldn't schedule teams at because it is a country tournament. It's basically like a 1v1, other than just generic, like each player having maybe someone's working on a weekend. So we have that, and then we also encourage teams if they're having problems scheduling, or just to begin with in the first place, make a thread in the reschedule channel, so that me and Shadus, the host, can see every single piece of discussion, and that way we can intervene if there's anything going wrong, if they're not reaching an agreement. But most of the time, I think only one match had any sort of issues, and then every other match was just, hey, can you guys play this time? Yes, okay, cool. It's not like a big concern usually, but encouraging people, if not enforcing, that is a bit impossible to enforce. And encouraging people to schedule in a thread that the host can see is a big step towards being able to help avoid these scheduling hells. But if it's something that's like reported after the tournament that people are being schedule cooked, etc., that is a pretty case by case. So not really much we can do in terms of proper ruling, I believe.
So yeah, by summarizing the our answers, like it is pretty hard for us to give exact like guidelines to those scheduling issues, but yeah, there is some tips by experienced hosts, like having considering each country's time zone and try to find the most middle ground time zone among those players, and also through like having each team's captain to join in the public thread, like not really public, like at least host and admins can see, so that there is no misinterpretation or any what any like troubles. And yeah.
One thing also for completely new hosts, might be kind of a boring answer, but 1v1s are way easier to schedule than team tournaments, and they usually have way
Ooh.
fewer problems with scheduling issues. That might be kind of a boring answer and might not be something that you really want to do, but if you are completely new to hosting, I found hosting 1v1 as my first tournament really straightforward in comparison to all the team tournaments I hosted after.
Yeah.
I think asking like actual time zone in the sign up sheet is probably a bit better in that case, because there are some players technically have that country time zone, but they have like very funny sleeping schedule, like wake up at 4 p.m. Like those kind of happens, and usually if you give them time zone, they put it slightly bit later in that case. Like for example, I'm plus like, if I wake up at like 4 p.m., I'll put like I'm basically like I'm United Kingdom time zone. I'll put like +0, +1, something like that.
Yeah, shout outs to all of the teams that can only play at 14 UTC.
14
Average Luigi
is
tournament.
Just your average international team tournament, 14 UTC. That's just the go-to.
14 son versus 15 daughter.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that answers that question for now. Then we had another question. What would you say about laser versus stable tournaments? Well, there has been last year, I think around this time, maybe a month or one, two later, there was Test Open, which was a laser tournament. Back then, API was being implemented in a way that you could technically, and that's still possible. You can fetch every single bit of information about laser tournaments already through the API, laser playlists and multiplayer. So it is completely fine to host a tournament on laser, as long as you make sure to do everything that you would also do in stable. It's just a different approach, and currently spectating tournaments in laser is a bit more complicated than doing that in stable, but it is fine. There's literally nothing against laser tournaments. It's just a bit more difficult currently. So if you do want to host a laser tournament, yeah, feel free to. There's no. It's not better to host in stable or in laser if that's what you're asking. It's just different. So, like we said previously, we do encourage you to try and find new ways of interesting tournaments, and laser has possibilities in that regard with new modifiers, such as the mods, bloom mod or whatever, rate double time. No longer are you confined to 1.5x. You can do two times actual double time, and all that. So there's different avenues you can explore there, but it's really up to personal preference what you want to do. What is the idea that you had in mind when you wanted to host a tournament, and make it happen?
Yeah. Like laser, while being I would say very new and like, so I think the major wall to open laser tournaments are the stable has more player base than the laser, like in not in like in the number wise, like you can see how many players are on stable and laser each in the website, and currently it's about 4-1 in favor of stable because they in so in like also standard is also standard mode there is quite different play okay. Okay, anyone want to go first? I'm stuck.
I
Oh,
will talk
yeah.
a little bit about there's also a lot of difficulties with hosting a laser tournament that haven't been discussed. I think the biggest one is that MP links in laser don't display match scores, and they only display the sum of scores of people in the lobby. So MP links are not reliable in the same way that they are on stable for finding out each individual score, which means if you wanted to host a laser tournament in the same way that tournaments are currently hosted on stable in general, with each individual point going to either side based on scores on individual maps, in order to get verifiable results, you would need live stream VODs for every single match. Not just, a bunch of matches, not just having them live streamed, but you need archived, publicly accessible live stream VODs for every single match if that's the format you want to use. You
Yeah.
could do a format similar to Laser Grand Arena, which was cumulative score, and that would work. That'd be completely fine, right?
Yep.
Those MP links support that format more than they do the current traditional tournament format that we have. Some other major difficulties: the spectator client in Laser also functions as the tournament client, so any modifications and customizability are pretty limited at the moment for smaller hosts because you don't have a traditional tournament client like what we have in stable. It's instead the laser spectator client, and you can create overlays for that, but it is not something I've attempted before, so can't comment on difficulty, but it's a completely new sort of client to work with. The other point about laser tournaments being more difficult than stable tournaments is that there is no way to access in-game chat in laser via IRC clients, like what we have in stable. So referees have to be in the lobby for every single match refed on laser, which means you can only ref one match at a time, which severely limits how easy it is to ref tournaments in laser, because most refs, and I think a lot of a lot of the other members of TCOM who referee quite a bit can speak to this, but most refs ref multiple matches at the same time on a regular basis using IRC clients. I know there's been some discussion about exactly what we would want to see from laser to make it more tournament ready, and that's definitely something that is being worked on by developers, not necessarily IRC, but something similar, so that capability is usable once again. I think MP commands also don't work in laser, like MP map, for example, just isn't a thing in laser, if I remember
No,
correctly.
you have to add them to the playlist, from what I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
that's
Yeah.
right. So yeah, there's a lot of unique challenges to hosting a laser tournament. Doesn't mean that it's worse. It just means that right now it is harder.
It's challenging, I think, is
It's
the right way to
different.
put it. It's just a bit of a challenge. I will say that personally, reffing only one match at a time, I tend to fall asleep. So being stuck in a lobby, not being able to do much else, is definitely not my favorite. I do know that there's a couple of issues on GitHub related to the how the matches are logged, but also other things related to tournaments that have seen some action recently, which that's very promising. Hopefully, in the future, we'll have more tooling, and it's going to be a lot easier to do things on laser. If you're up for a challenge, go try it out. If you're not, then just stick to stable.
Yeah.
At least for
Also,
now.
mhm. Yeah, for now it is like if you are familiar with API stuffs and you know the difference between laser and stable, then you can, but I don't think it will stay next year the same, like same difference. But for now, yeah, it is pretty safe to start unstable tournaments rather than Ledger. But yeah, we will see how we transit to these Ledger tournaments, because developers are working on it, hosts are working on it, and you know, more and more players are getting towards Ledger, so we need proper environment for them to compete conveniently. Okay, do we have next questions?
I'm just looking through the chat, seeing if I did miss a single question.
I think there is one on the chat.
There's
Yeah,
one on
yeah.
chat. I saw that one, but I was trying to see if there was another one even earlier that was gonna fall through the cracks if I started with that one. But it doesn't look to be the case. Yeah. What should be an acceptable amount of staff is needed for a tournament to function semi-okay? More like, even if the host could do everything himself with like 2 refs, would that be allowed, or just really stupid? I wouldn't advise it. Burnout is a real thing, so please have an actual, a bit of a larger staff team. Depending on the size of your tournament, you're gonna want more staff. If you're doing around a 64, then you're probably going to want more staff than if you're doing around a 16 double elimination, for instance. But there's no real requirement for the amount of staff that you need. It is completely fine if there's one ref that refs every single match in the tournament. I think for example, COE, the LAN tournament, right? That's just one referee. I don't know, Yaz, if for Epic it was just you. But it's not really an issue if there's just one referee that does the brunt of the work, or one streamer that does every single match.
Yeah, it was just me for Epic, but Epic was
Yeah.
very, very small in comparison to like a tournament where it's around a 32 double elimination. Again, like you said, it's not very we don't advise having just like one host and like 2 referees, stuff like that. It will just amount to extreme amount of burnout. There was a time where there was me and 2 other refs. This was way back. And we refed pretty much, I think it was around 60 matches in a space of 2 days. So yeah, I wouldn't advise it, so to say.
Yeah, I've been doing a pretty multiple roles at one time in my tournaments, quite a lot. But if you are experienced like a lot, then like it works. But the pros, it works. The cons, it works, because it will take like, so if you like combine every like hours, like getting into one tournament normally, and that will take about 100 to 200 hours to be operated. And in if you have 2 people, then one people have to work 50 hours. But if you have 10 people, one people have to only work for 10 hours. So it's, yeah, if you have fewer steps, the hours needed for each step grows exponentially. So yeah, if you're really experienced and have a really high dedication and very great mental, and then yeah, it has some like pros that you can like see through every match and examine what needs to be done and what not. But yeah, that is not advised until you have few hundreds matches that a few hundred matches of experience, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. Next
It's
question.
really a matter of dividing the workload and making it easier for all of your staff. The
Mhm.
more staff you have, the easier you can divide workload. The more simple it's going to be to successfully complete your tournament.
Yes.
Curious to opinions on self-scheduling approach, allowing players to avoid unlucky defaults. They can be you would remind them that they haven't yet rescheduled, all that. Well, I am not personally a big fan of that approach, having tried it in a couple of my tournaments for finals weekend, grand finals weekend, the more important matches, trying to work with the teams to find a suitable time. Frequently, at least in my experience, it would end up in schedules taking very long to get, and it would run into the Friday, and I'm trying to also schedule the staff and make sure the staff know what time they need to be there. But if we don't have a schedule yet, it gets very, very close to the weekend. I'm much more a fan of you have a default time. That way, if there's no reschedules happening, at least I know what time I need to schedule my staff. Maybe others
Yeah.
have different opinions. I don't think it's a bad approach per se. It's just not the one I would go for.
Yeah, there was few occasions in Korean tournaments that host let the players to schedule themselves, and the main issues there was players are not scheduling their match until Friday and decide the time like 3 hours before the match. So if you have like deadlines for deciding schedules, and the these some interventions when they are in conflict, then yeah, you can have it. But still, I mean, if they have preferred time, then even if you preset the schedules, they will reschedule it anyway. So I'll say like safe approach is to set a schedule, but you can wing it, I think. And yeah. Also, I think we skipped one question. Are you guys done with apps from News Post?
Oh, yeah, I missed that one. So we're still working through apps to an extent. We've already added people. As you probably have been able to tell, they've been added very sporadically. They haven't all joined at the same time. They've been joining at different times and dates. I do think we set out about 6 weeks initially for apps. I think we are getting close to that, so we'll want to round up what we're still doing with regards to apps soon. So by the time this Q&A is going to be happening next month, all of the apps will have finished, at least the very first wave. If people still want to apply after that, right, the form is still open for everybody. So anybody who hasn't applied yet is still free to do so. But at least the big wave of, I can't remember, 50 plus apps is going to be finished at that time. At which point people that weren't getting in will need to wait the 6 months as usual.
Yeah, like I joined the very first day in like New Wave, and oh my god, like it was way more application than I expected. So yeah, we've been taking some time, but as Albion said, hopefully it can be concluded until the next month.
Yeah. Then there was a question about staff applications versus player registrations corresponding to the 20 schedule. I usually try to do staff applications way in advance of player registrations, just so I know how big my staff team is and if I need to get even more staff in. Because if I'm already doing player registrations and I'm needing staff, it's gonna get very close to qualifiers happening, matches happening, and I'm still struggling with staff. So doing that well in advance, make sure that the staff that you are gonna get knows what they're in for, right? They're gonna know the time that, okay, in 2 months' time I'm gonna be staffing for a tournament. And if you have any gaps in streamers, commentators, you can much more easily reach out and fill those gaps before the tournament has even started.
Mhm. I'll say it varies on the roles of the staff. Like if you want original artists for music composition and commissions, then you wanna start like at least 6 months or 9 months prior to the tournament. And if you're looking for some graphic design things, then I think you have to contact them at least 3 months or 6 months, like prior to the tournament. Like you need pretty much time to be ready the artist to release the thing in the time. So the original music composer and graphic designers and web designers should be very prior to the tournament. Contrast to that, steps like referee, commentators, streamers, I think they can be just hired anytime. Like it should not make a much difference because their work starts with the tournament, like the start day of the tournament. So yeah, that would be my very basic guideline for. Anyone wanna add on this?
I think we're good.
Mhm.
And there was a question about, okay, what is the deal with tri-badge tournaments being so rare? I think it was quickly answered by Deal. I'll just quickly mention his answer as well. Tri-badge tournaments, the standards are just very, very high. The expectation is basically that you host something comparable to OWC for it to be tri-badged. Just doing the same as OWC, or having 5 tournaments that are all identical to each other, it doing tri-badge for all 5 of them is probably also just not happening. You want to have a tournament that is comparable to OWC and stands out from every other tournament, being just, oh, it's just another tournament. No, you stand out, right? You're a big name. People know your tournament. Perhaps even in the other game modes, right? There's people in the Mania scene, Taiko scene, they'll have heard of Corsace. They'll have heard of the other tournaments in the other game modes that are tri-badge. So you've really made a name for yourself, and other than that, the standards are really high. So they're very rare. You don't see that many of them. Are you able to speak more about what goes into the application process after the initial form is submitted? That's a very, very good question. I can't go into too much detail, but for what it's worth, when we have a lot of applicants all at the same time, we'll first go through and just weed out applications that are just not as strong as the others. And once those have been weeded out, we then take a look at, okay, what applications do we have left? Who is going to be someone we want to consider for the team? Eventually we'll vote on them, and if they pass the vote, then they will be added. Now, that's in general lines how the application process works, without going into too much detail. Hopefully that's transparent enough.
I think most important is that you have not break some tournament rules before. I think that is pretty given. Like, I think that's should be given, because if you have break tournament rules before, yeah, that it's not a good sign. That is not a good sign. Yeah.
Yeah, as yeah, this I'm pretty like I am pretty confused that how much we can open to you, but yeah, being clean is key. One of the key.
Yeah, I think that it's the most uh black and white thing. So I think we can say it basically. So yeah, I guess we can move on to next question, shall we?
Okay.
Um, Next question.
Okay.
We do have some already reply in chat where invite staffers and open players regs registration, or you can basically invite any staff if you work well with them before. Most importantly, just you probably need some tournament experience before to know who works well with you, something like that. So I think Dio has replied in chat. So does Albi and a lot of people has replied in the chat. So I guess we can move on to the next question as well. So any idea to make up matchup for a single or double elimination tournament where the first round is not higher seed versus lower seed for more fairness at least? There has been bothering me for a while, seeing the 32nd seed always getting destroyed on the first round. You can make a group stage, honestly. I have seen
Yep.
tournament that still run with a group stage if you think that is better for you, and some of them has still been bashed. For example, in Taiko tournament scene, we do have intermediate global Taiko showdown because the hosts kind of hate seeing the same reason, seeing a 32nd seed being destroyed, and then they make like a very complicated brackets, which is like a small group divide into like another new bracket system. Definitely this bracket system needs to again probably inform to the tournament committee before and asking some questions. Is this allowed? I can give you some example of the tournament. I'll link it in the chat for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
If
mhm.
I honestly think that round of 32 start is probably the limit of where, doing 1v32, 2v31 is still viable. There have been tournaments that go even bigger, round of 128, round of 64. Usually what you'll see is they'll implement some form of playoff system where the top 16 get a bye and then the other 96 teams fight, or well, 112 teams actually, they fight to determine what teams make it through to the next round. Then you end up with a group stage round. Then you end up with maybe Swiss. Like there's many different formats that are implemented where teams have at least a chance to play against weaker opponents in a way that preserves fairness, because the top players, they get a bye. They don't have to immediately play in that round of 128, or where you let the top 16 go into winner bracket while the bottom 16 go into lower brackets right from the get-go. That's all possible. It's really up to how you want to approach it. It is, however, also the case that if you are seed number 1, you did qualify as the best team, so to then, have to face stronger opponents, it kind of defeats the purpose of qualifying well. The fairness here goes both ways, as Dio pointed out. So I would, in that case, when you go for bigger tournaments, bigger formats, look into doing something like a group stage, a playoffs stage, something like that. Dio?
Yeah, it's also a matter of like incentivizing people to qualify highly if they have the ability, rather than de-seeding. Intentionally manipulating your seeding to have a lower overall seeding. If having a lower seed gives you an easier bracket, why would you try to qualify in first? If you are just going to get a harder bracket anyway, what is the point? I may as well barely practice or not practice at all, show up tired, just wake up right before the match and de-seed and qualify in lower than I'm expected to, so that I get an easier bracket. So there are some concerns with competitive integrity there as well. If your format does not encourage people to seed as high as they can within the tournament.
Yeah, normally in our traditional seeding method, like matching 1 to 32, 2 to 31, etc. Like usually this seeding is a problem there. It could be problem. Like it is like if every teams in that pool plays perfectly, then yeah, like getting highest seed is definitely easier bracket, but it could be go wrong. So I think it is very nice format to like have that top teams to advance further at this starting point, and then let bottom half people start from lower side. I actually did that in my tournaments like quite a lot, and that works pretty well. Like some top teams have to wait a little long before their first match starts, but if you can shorten your length of your play-in stage, then it should be great addition to your format. I really recommend to do so. Okay. It looks anyone. Okay. We will get to the next question, I think. How do you decide what resource go on the TCOM site's community resource page?
Yeah, I replied in the chat. That page currently takes everything that we also posted to the forums. There's a community resources page there. Most of those were taken from the Mirai Subjects awesome OSU tournaments, the resources site, where there's just a lot of resources made by the community. Whether or not we can put all of them on the community resources page on the website, I'm not sure yet. For now, this is a very good start for people looking for resources. So we'll see how we develop that page in the future. For what it's worth, I've been talking to Hyvee. Likely, we'll try to make the page a little bit more easy to navigate than it currently is, because right now it's just a huge list of links, which isn't really that easy to find what you're looking for. So we'll see how we go about that. Could be that there's a redesign coming for that page in the future. Then we have. I'm gonna quickly jump to the follow-up question here from Nihat. I have a resource I think is worthy of being added. That's on my subjects page. We'll take a look. I promise you, we'll take a look on the Mirai Subjects page, see what's there, and if we need to move even more of the links from there over to the page. But like I said, with the new community resources page being relatively new, only a couple days old, and revisions possibly happening, I don't want to do any promises at the current time. We'll have to discuss and see how things will go there in the future.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
community resource will I mean everyone experienced in tournament can add something in the community, and if we consider it helpful, then we can add it. So it's basically that. So yeah, let's get to the next question. This is I think we can confidently answer. What happens with the badgeability of a tournament if someone gets restricted during finals and their team decides to FF? We command rematch.
We
Usually.
recommend giving, depending. It depends a bit on the nature of the restriction, but in general, if a player gets restricted, please have them contact accounts at ppy.st.helena as soon as possible, because often enough, those restrictions, if they are false or if there's a different issue, they can be resolved within 24 hours. So please do contact that email that Dio posted in the chat as soon as possible. If it doesn't get cleared within 24 hours, then feel free to disqualify the team, or if they forfeited already, that's a bit easier. Try to see if hey, what happened in the last round? Is there a team that lost to the team that has now forfeited from the tournament. Now we can give another chance, another shot, because they may have been facing an opponent that was cheating or otherwise playing unfairly. So giving them another chance and opportunity would be the fairest for all parties involved. So usually you'll want to look at the last round, sometimes even last 2 rounds, and replay matches, give these teams another chance.
At that point, it's all based on because if it's like a case like that, I'm pretty sure it's gonna go to voting, stuff like that, because it's quite controversial, and we need to decide like how it's fair to everyone involved. I personally because I'm also a player in like multiple modes, I have experienced something like that before, and the result is just a rematch basically, or just complete that team gets disqualified. There's a lot of cases. It's based on case to case after all. But yeah, rematch or just like a WBD, it's basically how the outcome is. So yeah, another based on voting, another based on situations. So I guess that answers the questions. So
Yeah.
do we have another question right here? I do believe Santos has another one.
Yeah, I'll quickly answer that one as a member of GMT. Just to check, I remember situations like live mass reporting happening in some high stakes matches. Are there ways to resolve the situation as quickly as possible in those cases? Please go into the tournament channel here, ping tournament committee, ping people. They can help you the quickest, right? Go into their tournament committee can't really help, but we can still pass it on to the people that can help. For what it's worth, if mass reporting does happen maliciously, there will also be consequences for the people doing it, for obvious reasons. That is not okay. It is not a fair way to go about it. It has, mass reporting has been an issue in the past. I don't think it will be as much of an issue as it once was. But if a player does get restricted in the middle of a match, please just go into the tournament channel and ping somebody.
Yeah, while the tournament
As a
committee-
tournament host, right? If you're a spectator, please don't go on behalf of the hosts into the server and start pinging people. We don't want to get spam pinged ourselves. Make sure that the hosts or whoever is in charge of the tournament, they go in, they ping us. They're like, "Hey, something is happening in my tournament." So make sure that you tell the host to go in here and do that.
Yeah, because some of the tournament committee's member doesn't have the permission to this restrict a player, but I think few members of us are actually is GMT at the same time, so they could help you either.
Then we also have a question: how is tournament screening handled? We do not handle tournament screening. Tournament screening is handled by the account support team. If you're sending an email to the tournament's email, then the people from tournament committee, we can see the email contents, as Dio mentioned in the last Q&A as well. We can see the email contents. We can't see the metadata, so we don't know who sent it. We don't see the attachments. We don't know any of that. All we see is just the email contents, the raw text. That said, account support team, that's actually the people you're sending your email to. They handle the screening. They handle all that. So if you're wondering how the screening happened, account support team does it and you get your results. That's how it happens. Can there be protection from automatic restrictions while user is in a match? I'm not sure. I think it doesn't happen frequently enough for it to be a major concern. If it does happen, then usually if a restriction happens in a match, it will be for valid reasons.
Also, one maybe you know, aside from mass reporting, there could be some like there could be some interruption for players who play the tournament while, like, you know, mass DMing and mass reporting and, you know, possibly DDoS their computer or something. But yeah, they are. If it's outside of OSU problem, then we might be have hard times to handle it. But if it's in OSU, then I think one solution could be having the private server. Like currently, the private server only operated by OSU World Cups right now, but could there be an option to like provide that
I don't
prevent
think
to
we want to encourage tournaments to take place on private servers personally.
No.
no,
Yeah.
I mean the also World Cup private server. I mean,
Yeah, that is specifically for the World Cup, so I don't think that's ever getting used
Very
for,
different.
yeah,
They're
other
very
tournaments.
different. I also
Very
think
different.
that, to be fair, restrictions and all that isn't really under our purview that much.
That's
So
exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah.
so I think we'll continue from this question now. Any other questions? Once again, restrictions and all that is not handled by tournament committee directly, so we cannot answer that question.
And in the case of tournament bans, we don't discuss specific people's tournament bans here.
Yep.
Oh, if this is a question about what you can do, yeah, the rules on the official support page are accurate. So you are still let me just double check the exact things that you
Stream,
are allowed to do, but
commentate,
yeah,
and graphic design. Those are the three.
the things that you can do while also playing in the tournament.
Yeah, and if you want to do anything else, then the host is going to have to request an exemption for you in their initial request for support. So that's going to be the screening email. You'll have to ask, hey, there's this user who wants to ref in my tournament. They're currently under a cooldown. Would it be okay for them to staff in my tournament? And then account support team will decide, sometimes with advice from tournament committee, they'll decide whether or not that's going to be allowed, yes or no.
so yeah, one question would be like there is 3 case of the tournament restriction, which is tournament bans, staffing bans, hosting bans, kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm sorry that I haven't read like too much into it, so I cannot provide some answers here. But mostly, if you want to have someone that is under the any forms of ban into your tournament, yeah, you can always ask through the emails. I think emails is where we go, right, in this situation.
I think the wiki has already been updated. Dee would know better than I do, but I believe the wiki also has been updated to at least mention a hosting staffing ban.
Yeah, the hosting and staffing bans are indeed on the wiki in the staff section of the official support wiki. So those are already updated. If you have questions about exactly what those entail, feel free to ask. But yeah, the wiki is updated for those.
That
I
would be correct.
assume.
At least at the current
Yeah.
time, they're not visible on profiles. Whether that's going to change in the future, only time will tell. At the current time, only tournament bans are public on profiles.
Okay, so there's a new question from Liad. No, it's visible usually. There's you can it's not it's not invisible.
For what it's worth, if a user gets a hosting or staffing ban, they will be immediately informed, most likely through the tournament's email, that hey, you are now under a staffing hosting ban.
And there your account at the lowest, it should also provide that you are staffing ban. And yes, tournament ban is different from staffing. Oh, okay, not okay. There's three type of bans. Tournament ban is basically you cannot sign up any tournament as a player, and even as a player. Staffing ban is that you cannot staff, obviously, and the hosting ban is like cannot host another tournament. If that answers your question.
How to get banned from staffing? It's on the wiki. If you are if you are through your actions responsible for a tournament losing its official support. For example, if you're a map pooler and you leak a map pool, you're gonna get a staffing ban from map pooling for the foreseeable future, if not more. Right? That's going to be at least a bare minimum at that point. If you're leaking map pools, you're probably also looking at much more. But as an example, if you're doing something through your actions that directly impacts the official support status of a tournament. For instance, what you mentioned, severely negligent refereeing. Yes, if you're just showing poor behavior, right? Not just your actions in a tournament cause a tournament to lose official support. If your behavior, then it might be something else, right? It might just go into tournament ban. But as we previously mentioned, we're not gonna. I don't think this is a topic we can really dive into too much, because these cases are far and few in between. Some of them aren't even handled by tournament committee, so it's just not right. If you get unrestricted, you'll have a 1-year tournament ban on your account. That's just the standard appeal terms for of part of restrictions. That's how it works.
It's kind of like a stair system where it gets worse the more you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
What do you mean? The more you do,
so like if you have more severe misbehavior in tournament, then you get longer bans, I guess.
you need to specify. Of course.
Yeah,
If
of
it's like
course.
we repeat like misbehavior, then the second time, of course, it's gonna be lasting longer. And if it's like doesn't change, then you get indefinite. But again, that's up to us to decide. Depends on context after all.
Is there any questions related to anything else? Not tournament ban restriction or that related? Because like we've said, these cases are far and few in between. They will be handled case by case depending on what has happened. We can't go into detail on people's bans, and I feel like that's all we can really say about them. If you need more information, the wiki has a lot of information on what can result in specific types of bans, restrictions. So please give that a good read. Not something that is very much is appropriate for this Q&A. So I'm wondering, is there anybody who has questions about anything else related to tournaments, related to the changes that were made in the past month? Any questions about the new members? Because otherwise, I think we will slowly start to close this and end this meeting, this Q&A. Some members are already leaving. I think we've now spent a good 1.5 hours. So if that's all, I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, but if that's all, I think we're going to end it here.
Yeah. It's some of me, like, yeah, I'm getting hungry too. I should get some food.
Yeah, it's dinner
Like,
time for Asians.
yeah. We were talking 1.5 hours straight. We gotta eat good.
If there's a lot of questions that you feel need to be asked, we also have set up a form where you can send us questions in advance. That way, if, for example, you have a more complicated question, we can you can send it there, or if you have like a whole bunch of questions that you're not able to attend the next meeting, please send them there. We'll consider answering them depending on what the question is about. If we do get a question that we just cannot answer, we'll also not be able to bring it up during the meeting because, well, we cannot answer it.
Yeah. Also for casual questions, we advise you to use the tournament channel for our quick answers. Maybe.
Yeah, and if you have any questions regarding formats, feel free to use a ticket system that we now have.
If you yeah, we usually like discuss quite a lot for tickets. So if you have like so much serious question, you can always get to that. Yeah, so
I think
Actually, a question for me.
go ahead.
I am fine. A little tired, but busy working, so expect it.
I think we're just gonna call it here then.
I agree. I think we've answered majority, well, all of the questions that we have been answered today. I think.
Yeah.
Should.
Uh,
Oh, never mind.
I just got
We
a
have.
phone call.
We
All
just
right.
got one from Flo Florian.
All right.
Community
Creating a
run
tournament.
tournaments, which abide
abide-
by the. Oh, so, okay. I'll
Go.
Yeah, community-run tournaments which abide by the following hard criteria. Oh yeah, the tournament series must run no more than 2 times per year. Does that mean you can host more than 2 batches tournaments per year, just not the same name essentially? Basically, yes, but like if your different 2 tournaments has very similar formats, then maybe we might have to reconsider, I think.
Okay, the big thing here is we want to encourage quality over quantity. If you are hosting 7 tournaments a year in the same series, you're not going to be able to put in the same amount of time or effort that you can do if you're only doing 1 tournament that same year and putting all of your efforts into that 1 tournament. Yes, you can run more than 2 badge tournaments per year if it's a completely different series. For example, if you're going to be hosting Nick's Winter Cup and then a Nick's Summer Cup, and then Yaz is going to come in and is going to host Yaz's Spring Cup and Yaz's Fall Cup, but they're completely
even hard.
different formats, and they both host together, then you're still looking at 4 tournaments. But if they're the same format, they're all 1v1s, it's that's very iffy. But if they're completely different formats, then yes, it is possible. But once again, please, quality over quantity. It's not about hosting 100 tournaments, it's about hosting a couple of tournaments and making sure that everybody really enjoys those tournaments and you're very happy with the end result. For instance, if you take a look at the GTS series, you have EGTS, you have AGTS, you have IGTS, you have CGTS, you have BGTS. There's a lot of different GTSs, but they all cater to a different group of people. EGTS is a 1v1 tournament for the absolute best of the best. Then you have one of the other GTS is going to be a team tournament. Then another one is going to be rank restricted, right? They're different tournaments. They all fall under the same umbrella of Global Taiko Showdown, but by all means, they're different tournaments, different formats. It would be allowed.
And not only that,
Does
they
that?
are hosted by different people. I just wanna give like a heads up.
Yeah.
Like even though they have the same name, like same serious name, but they are technically hosted by different people. Such as I give a bit of examples, but I think you can search for yourself on GTS website where each GTS has different hosts and different hosts focus on like different rank ranges and stuff. So yes.
All right. I believe that answered the question. So that said, as we mentioned previously, we're gonna just wrap it up here. Thank you everybody for coming. For asking questions. Hopefully, all of the questions you have asked have been answered. If you come up with any other questions that you want to ask in the coming days, in the coming weeks, we have the form. It is in the tournament news channel. It's right there. So feel free to fill it out, and we will take that question with us to the next Q&A. Once again, thank you everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.